Let's do it. Ready?
Gonna start 12 seconds for the 12th episode. Oh yeah, you can see the clock now, Doug.
Scared.
All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ooh.
Afterthoughts is back.
Let's go.
Episode 12. Happy Halloween.
Yes. This is a spooky episode already.
Pretty
I'm
cool.
scared.
We got props, special effects, and everyone is so thrilled that Afterthoughts has returned, guys.
We're back.
The amount of people who asked about it was
Shocking.
uncountable.
Dude,
Dozens.
At least dozens.
At least dozens.
Yes.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Hope you've been well these past few weeks.
I've been doing just fine.
And Doug, also with you.
Oh, and also with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacob, you happy to be back, dude?
What's up, man?
I was trying to say two things at once. Kayla,
Hi, I'm back.
so many people missed questions with
Oh,
Kayla.
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I just said so many people, not necessarily us. Just kidding. We love questions with Kayla. Happy Halloween. What are you guys dressed up as over there? Why don't you tell everyone?
I'm wearing a white hoodie, so that's really
Nice.
A snowboarder.
yeah. I'm
A ghost.
snowboarder. Yeah,
there you go.
A ghost.
My
Jay-
shirt or sweatshirt does have a ghost on it, so
There you go.
Oh,
I win.
jeez.
Jacob is dressed up as the producer of Afterthoughts.
Wow, that's
producer.
a really good costume.
Yeah,
Very
we went
cool,
we
man.
went big this year with our costumes.
Yeah, we sure did.
So this is the special edition Halloween episode. As you can see, we went all out. Doug, what are your kids being?
Will is a stormtrooper,
Yes.
and Kinsley, for the second year in a row, is Elsa.
Dude.
Got a slightly bigger Elsa dress.
Popular costume. for
Very popular
young
costume.
ladies.
Lots
Yeah.
of Spideys and Elsas out
Yep.
there.
Spider-Man left my house this morning to go to school.
Let's go.
Oh, he wore it to
Zeke.
school?
He sure did.
Good for him.
Yep.
That school's in good hands today.
Yeah.
What about Ray?
He's going to be Baby Shark. Yeah. I'll try to get some photos in time for the export for Jacob to put up.
Yep.
Maybe you can get some too.
Yep. That's hilarious.
Is Baby
man.
Shark your favorite song?
Oh, yeah.
Should we sing it?
No. Speaking of stormtroopers, you guys went
Yeah.
to Disney.
Sure
We
did.
man.
Yeah, last week we were in Orlando, which is why we didn't have an Afterthoughts podcast.
That's right.
And it was awesome. Brought my kids for the very first time and got to experience it through them, and it was incredible.
Experiencing Star Wars land with Will.
Technically called Galaxy's Edge.
Right. Galaxy's
So
Edge
Star
cool.
Wars Land.
was so
Makes-
cool,
it's
man.
More on the nose.
That first off, it's amazing, and second off, to see it through the eyes of a 5-year-old who's super into Star Wars.
Yeah.
that was just special.
Probably
man.
trying to decipher if it was real or not.
I'm still trying to decipher if it was real or not.
Totally,
You
man.
are?
They have the Millennium Falcon or Falcon.
Careful.
Careful with that.
Falcon.
But that's what everybody in
It's
Star
like a
Wars
falcon
calls
on my
it.
shirt. I'm a falcon for Halloween.
Highlands Ranch Falcons.
Highlands what?
Highlands Ranch.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The whole time walking through there, because it was you, me, Sam, my wife, and then Will, my 5-year-old son. And I don't know, I remember saying to you at the end of the night, because you can get, in this day and age with everything on the news and the amount of terrible things that happen, it kind of gets you down on just humanity. Like the world is way more messed up, and you learn that a little bit more every year. But then you go to Galaxy's Edge, and I remember saying to you, I'm like, Ryan, humans did this. This is
cool,
what we
man.
can do.
Restores a little faith.
Yeah.
in
It
humanity.
restores a little
When we
faith in you. It's
throw
so
our
cool.
creativity toward like fun things and productive things and
Yeah.
cool
Cool.
things,
Yeah.
we can actually make some very cool, amazing things in this world.
Like
so I'm
Star
proud
Wars-
of humans.
Star Wars Land.
Yes.
Like Star Wars.
Favorite Star Wars character?
Ooh.
Sorry to kind of take your bit, Kayla, but we'll still do questions.
My favorite Star Wars character will always be Han Solo.
Yeah.
However,
Nice.
I love Rey in the 3 new
She's cool.
movies. I love
She
Rey's
is cool.
character. I think she's awesome.
I think Chewie's character is so
Yeah.
just consistently
He's
loyal.
he's just Chewie.
and he's just always up for whatever.
Yes.
Ooh, I
Chewbacca
like
was
that.
going to be my answer. Can't say Jar Jar Binks because that's everyone's favorite.
Yeah,
obviously.
but
Did you say
especially
least
yours.
favorite or favorite?
yes.
Jar Jar
Reese
Binks.
Sebulba from Pod Racing. Cool guy.
You know who
Menace,
the
remember that?
Sebulba?
Not
Yeah.
really. He's not really.
That's one of the few scenes because Will's 5, so we haven't watched any full Star Wars movie yet.
Yes.
But we'll watch little scenes in his bunk bed when he's going to bed. And that's one of them. The pod race scene, I'll let him watch, and we probably watch that one scene. And when Sebulba crashes at the end, and he does this goofy scream, and Will loses
That's
it
awesome.
every time.
Well, welcome back to this galaxy.
Yes. Thank you.
From all of us at the
so
Afterthoughts
you didn't say
podcast.
your favorite. You didn't say your favorite.
Oh, well, Chewbacca, but also
Okay.
Yoda.
Yoda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Old Yoda, not the baby Yoda.
Not the
Yeah.
I like them both, but old
the
Yoda.
new baby Yoda that everybody's obsessed with.
Grogu.
Oh yeah.
Is his name, right? Grogu? Is
Grogu.
that right? Yes.
Grogu. Correct.
While you guys were in Star Wars land,
Yes.
a couple
Yes.
important things have happened. Oh, Jacob
us.
also was in Florida. A lot of Florida travel. Kind of
Jacob-
blocking the Afterthoughts podcast. But
Jacob, you went to Universal Studios, is that correct?
Yep, Universal, just Universal.
Not Islands of Adventure?
We did both, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Those are sort of connected.
Yeah, so we did, what is it, Park Pass, hop?
Yeah.
I don't know
What was your favorite part?
Oh, Harry Potter.
Yeah. Harry Potter world.
Okay,
Harry
speaking
Potter
of Harry
world.
Potter,
Okay.
this
So
is going to
good.
be controversial.
Oh my gosh. Probably the most controversial conversation.
Oh no.
We've had, but you
Yes.
guys are ready for this. This right here reminds me of the pensive in Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that how you say it? Pensive.
Well, they all say ponsive in the movies,
Pensive.
but they're also British, so I don't know if
Right.
if that's just the British way of saying pensive or if
I
that's
always
what it's
read it
called.
as pensive.
Well,
in the book.
Ryan read the books before he saw the movies,
Oh, dude.
and he used to think Snape was Professor Snap.
I called him Professor Snap for years, dude.
Jeez.
And
Years.
That's on you.
I had
There's an
Dudley
E.
going instead
Yeah.
of Dudley.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so Dudley and Snap. Doug would just be like, what are you talking about?
Professor Snap and Cousin Doodley.
My dad read us the first one or two, and like on road trips, he would read
Yeah.
Harry Potter in the car.
Yeah.
He said Hermione.
I used to. I
get that one.
I read Hermione.
It's better than Snap.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. Snap is just not understanding
It's
how
starting to smell like a
the
campfire.
how the English language works.
But this could be a great prop that we use on the podcast to dive into memories like they do in Harry Potter into the pensive.
yes,
to dive into like sermon clips.
Exactly.
And stuff do it. like that.
Let's flash back to, and then I think this is out. Might be burning this.
yeah.
Let's look back at that moment, Ryan.
Where,
you know,
where
and then,
Ethan went down the ladder.
exactly,
for example.
and then you dive into it. Dive into it.
I like it.
But that is controversial. So let me ask you guys: is Harry Potter okay, or is it bad? Is he bad?
So first off, I think the biggest problem that we fall into here is we take a complicated question and we expect a yes or no answer. And this is our lives
Yes or no, though.
to a T.
True or yes?
Yes or
is,
true?
Is like people always want us to give very simple answers to very complex problems. And
Yeah.
for me, this is a huge one where I go, Harry Potter is a story that I grew up on.
Yeah.
It's a story that all three of us grew up loving. It is how I originally fell in love with storytelling.
Yeah.
And I just have found so much good fruit from that story and falling in love with all of that along the way. And at the same time, like the Bible is really clear that witchcraft is not something that we should practice, right? And so it's funny because if you say yes to that question, you go, oh, so you don't take the Bible seriously? And if you say no, then it's like, okay, here we go, being legalistic.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't we just say, yes, it's an amazing story about love conquering evil and all of that. And also at the same time, like, let's not practice witchcraft.
Yes.
That's my answer.
Yeah. Can we go from the kids' table at Thanksgiving to the adult table and have an
There
adult
we go.
conversation about it?
Yeah.
It's always funny. You know, I imagine somebody commenting on YouTube like, Harry Potter is witchcraft, which is evil, period. And just no room for a conversation. I'm like, come away from the kids' table and come to the grown-ups table.
Dude.
And have a meal and have a conversation about something that is way bigger than just yes or no. Because a lot of it has to do with, I think, understanding your heart. And so what might be okay for somebody might not be okay for somebody else. And you have to have the maturity and the self-awareness to know for you. And even that to me sounds legalistic because I would always just say, of course it's fine. I remember when we were reading it, somebody in the church got mad at us because they saw us reading, like when the 6th book came out or something like that, and said, "Those are evil young men. And mom was like a mama bear, and she said, "My kids are actually reading brilliant British literature
For the first time.
I think, instead of all these other kids are just playing video games and watching TV, my kids are reading."
Yeah.
And you're not gonna tell them that. It was a real mama bear moment, which was cool. But I think discerning for yourself.
Yeah.
Because let's just acknowledge at Barnes and Noble, there's a growing witchcraft section,
Right.
And there is a growing
Right.
interest and intrigue into the New Age and into spirituality. And not all spiritual stuff is light. A lot of it has a dark side to it, which just shows people's desperation to be part of something bigger and think there's got to be more than what I see in front of me. But you can find that in places you shouldn't be finding that.
Right.
But Harry Potter can also be just a brilliant story that, just like Lord of the Rings, has great biblical themes to it. Teaches you about humility, bravery, friendship,
Sacrifice.
good conquering over evil. Laying your life down when Harry walks into the forest at the end to lay his life down for humanity.
Spoiler alert.
And
Sounds familiar to another story that I know.
Right.
it's a mirror of the biblical story. Lays his life down, dies, comes back, saves everyone.
Yes. So
But Chronicles of Narnia, Lord of the Rings, are signed off
Oh
by
yeah.
Christians because the authors are known to be Christians,
So
right?
good, man.
Correct.
Very similar concept and story. Harry Potter, to me, none of those books are instruction manuals on what you should do. It's
No.
a fantasy story.
none of the spells actually work.
I have met witch
I mean, I don't
doctors.
know. I haven't
I've met witch doctors in my life.
Yeah,
Been
right.
in places where there's real witchcraft happening. It
Right.
does not look at all like what you read
No,
about
no,
in
no,
Harry
no,
Potter.
no.
It's not British kids flying around throwing,
No, it
trying to
feels
catch a golden snitch.
obviously objectively dark and bad and evil
Yeah.
and not great.
So, all that
Although
to say,
it does work at Harry Potter World. If you go to Ollivander's and you get picked for the experience, which I got picked for the experience.
Okay, so we walk in, Doug and Sam and I walk in, and there's like 30 people in the room, most of which are like young kids who are so excited and like telling their parents like, I hope he picks me, I hope he picks me.
Yeah.
And Ollivander turns around and he goes, what is your name? And there's like an 8-year-old kid next to Doug that's like, Frank. And then Ollivander just keeps scanning over to Doug and points at Doug and goes, no, your name.
And I'm just like,
the kid,
how about the kid?
grown
You're
man.
like,
I don't. I'm good, man.
my name's Doug.
So I get picked, and then I step up, and they recreate the scene where Ollivander talks to Harry in the first movie, and he tries a few different wands, and some of them don't work, and wands fly off the shelves, and that kind of happened. But
Oh, that's cool.
it wasn't real magic.
Did you tell
It
the
was
kid,
just-
you want to know why I get to do this? Because I'm at the adults table and I can handle this. You're at the kids table, so you might think this is real. Gotcha.
But you should be at the kids' table because you're a kid.
Yes.
It's so great. At the end, they're like, so did you want to purchase this? And Doug's just like, no.
Oh yeah, dude, they picked me, and then she's like, "You sir, come here," and I got to walk into like the gift shop before anybody else, and I was like, "Wow, are they gonna give me this wand as a souvenir? Because those are like $70.
Yeah.
How much money are they
surreal.
making selling these wands? They sell
yeah.
thousands
the
a day.
stick that they're selling you for
Yes.
$70. There's a lot of those.
And
on
she
Earth.
goes, she motions, she's like, "Sir, come over here."
You're one of us now.
Yeah, and looking at me like, I'm about to hook you up. And she said, "You want to buy this wand?" And I
goes,
said,
No.
"No." $70. Like, you're not gonna. You should give this to me.
Yeah.
Or at least give me a discount on this. This isn't even the one I would have picked out.
Right.
That's amazing.
Oh man. She's like, "Well, this is the one that you had in this experience that caused the light bulb to light up." And
You're like, yeah, I'm an adult. I know how this works. I understand.
I love the books. I love the stories. I'm a story guy. This story is incredible.
Yeah.
But I just am not at the place in my life where I have $70 to drop on this wand. More importantly, I'm like, even if I was going to buy one, now I'm not, because you should be giving me this at a discount.
Yeah. No. Well, all that to
Anyways.
say,
We had a great time.
witchcraft is not something to practice.
Nope.
Harry Potter is a great story, but if it's not for you, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do we sign off on we can use this
Uh-oh.
once it's working again
Uh-oh.
to dive into some memories on the podcast here and there?
Yeah.
Everyone okay with
Great.
that?
Yeah, you know
I
why?
think it's creative and I think it's funny.
It's
and just
funny,
so
that's
everyone,
why.
And just so everyone knows, it doesn't actually work.
We all know that it doesn't
do anything. It's just a
work.
bowl
We're gonna
with some sometimes working mini hazer.
We'll
that we
occasionally
pretend to
peer into
use.
this, but Jacob will edit it in
He'll
post.
put
Yeah,
the
yeah.
video clip in.
Yes.
You use
we won't go
Premiere.
into
We
the
won't be
bowl.
sucked
It's
into
an
the bowl.
editing software.
This is just a bowl. And this
That
is the
smart
thing-
people
this is the
invented.
thing that
And these are
is-
actual sermon clips from a
It really
previous
smells like-
sermon
smells like
that we can
fire.
still watch on YouTube.
Guys,
how
because
it
I'm gonna
works.
stop using it. I think.
the last thing I'm gonna say, should we? The last thing I'll say about Harry Potter is because back high school, college age, when we were reading everything and the movies were coming out, that story drew us in because of the overarching themes, because of the good conquering over evil, the
Sacrifice
laying down your
for
life, the
everyone else.
sacrifice, the stories of unbreakable love,
Friendship.
and friendship, bravery, and those kids found that they were part of a story that was much bigger than them.
Nice.
We were drawn to that, and then when the whole following Jesus thing happened, soon after that, or right within that, kind of realizing the parallels, and like, wait a second, we are also, and this is not a book, we are also caught up in a story of sacrifice and good conquering evil. And there's a very real evil and unbreakable love. Like, this is reality, and we're part of it too. And there's something in the human soul that is awakened by those themes, which J.K. Rowling got from God, the ultimate author of those themes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That story arc is pretty much every story arc. The story of Jesus is within all the best stories.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sweet.
Pensive.
Case closed.
That was really good.
And looking over there, let me just fill you guys in since you were all in Florida. The Broncos somehow beat the Chiefs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to James
that
Keithley and Sam
24 to
Holloman,
9?
some of the Chiefs fans I know.
James Keithley is a Chiefs fan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He is?
Terrible.
Is he from Kansas City?
I don't care.
James.
Oh, the Nuggets and Avs both look tremendous
They look
starting the season.
amazing.
Nuggets might be better than last year. Avs
Man.
certainly have a cup run in them. Buffs, figuring it out first year. That's
Heck
okay.
yeah.
We're just figuring it out. Well, you know what time it is.
Yes.
All that's
Let's go. Questions.
Everyone's
with
been waiting.
We'll
Let's
make
get
this
back to
fast.
questions with
We'll
Caleb.
make this fast because
Halloween lightning round. Lightning
Yeah.
thunder sound effect.
Wow.
Jacob doesn't even need to do that in post.
No, we got it covered.
Yep.
Oh, the storm's
best
getting closer.
costume you have ever worn for Halloween. We're doing a Halloween edition.
Wow.
Ooh, mine's quick. We talked about it, I think, on the very first podcast. It was Underdog, which is a cartoon that I was into back in the day, and people have made fun of me for it ever since. But I stand by it.
Yep.
Underdog, speaking of Harry Potter, who is an underdog, an unlikely protagonist.
Yes.
There's a theme there. Yeah, Ryan was underdog, and then the guy, when he said trick or treat at the door, the guy looked at him and was like, "Hey, happy Halloween. I don't know what you are."
Who do we got here?
I was a fireman.
Firefighter and who do we got here?
We got a firefighter, and then, "Hey, happy Halloween, man."
Hey.
Cool costume. Is yours firefighter?
No, Reggie Sanders.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Mom used to make our Halloween costumes, and one year you were Ron Gant, and I was Reggie Sanders.
Cincinnati
Outfielders
Reds
for the Cincinnati
in the
Reds
90s.
back in the 90s.
Homemade baseball
Dude,
uniforms.
Yes.
that was so fun.
I was a big Ken Griffey Jr. guy. We all were
course.
Seattle Mariners, but my mom and aunt made me a Mariner Moose costume, which was the mascot guy. So I was the Mariner
So
Moose.
you were the mascot instead
Fourth
of
grade.
Griffey.
That's so great.
Not
man.
sure why, but I wanted to be the Mariner Moose. Fourth grade.
That's awesome.
All right. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but maybe one that you like. Favorite scary movie. That could also be controversial to people.
I am actually not a big scary movie guy.
Don't watch them. Can't watch them.
I'll say Scary Movie 3,
Nice.
just because Scary Movie's in the title.
Hilarious.
I liked Signs when it came out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's. I think that's a scary movie category.
Oh, for sure.
Signs is actually what I was going to say. There was like maybe a 2-year bit there when we were like
When you're in,
early
like,
teenage years.
8th grade.
Like The Ring came out, Signs came
You
out.
want to watch the Scream movies.
I feel like I'd just be terrified for like a week.
There's not ever a day of my life now that I think I want to watch a scary movie. Not ever.
Oh man.
So no, thank you.
Well, the one
Question
movie,
rejected.
Question rejected. Actually, one movie, When a Stranger Calls. You know what I'm talking about? Where the girl's babysitting.
Nope.
It's
no
filmed
thanks.
in Estes Park.
No, thank you.
And the call's coming from inside the house.
What?
I do not
Doug?
like that.
That movie, I was like, this is terrifying because this could actually happen.
Right.
That movie's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So on the scary movie trend, in a scary movie, is it scarier to see the monster or whatever it is, or never see it at all? So then you only hear it.
To never see it at all. That's always how evil works, right? Is as long as you can stay hidden, then you have the element of surprise and the element of mystery on your side. But as soon as you shine a light in the dark places, you realize that the darkness was never that scary after all.
I will say
Harry
the
Potter.
scariest. I'm being so vulnerable here. When a stranger calls, but the
So
scariest scene I've ever seen.
Here we go. In the house.
The call is coming from inside the house.
It's the one scary movie Doug watched 2 decades ago.
No. We watched another. I don't know if you call Bird Box a thriller.
Oof.
I
That
hate
movie
it.
was wild.
That movie was well done, but I hated it. That was probably the only like quote unquote scary movie
When
I've
people
watched
are
in
like,
maybe the
"Oh, I
last
love scary
decade.
movies," I'm like, I don't really
I
want to
don't
be
know
friends
that,
with you.
man.
I feel like
I don't
at some point
trust
you're gonna
you.
kill
And
me.
this is just proof or evidence of the point that you just made. There's a scene in the beginning where whatever these demons or whatever is that they're all seeing, you never see it. But the girl who's with Sandra Bullock in the car,
Oh yeah,
and she,
I do
and
remember
if
that.
there's scenes in movies, even if they're not scary movies, where somebody like all of a sudden like we're talking and then I like see something behind you, but the camera never shows. It just sees my eyes and how terrified I am.
Yeah.
I think that I hate that.
That is scary.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I'll tell you.
I hate it.
I'll tell you a scary being that once you saw him walking around talking wasn't so scary was Voldemort in the movies.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they
All of a
should have
sudden
kept
you're
him
like,
hidden.
You're not too scary, man.
No, that wasn't great.
Yeah, but when you don't see it,
Not
because when you
great.
saw the alien in Signs, it was kind of like,
Okay.
yeah, I could beat you up with a baseball bat, like Joaquin Phoenix.
It was a little scary in the back when they see the aliens walking in the background from
Yeah,
from the
oh yeah,
news.
when it's like subtle.
But that's also in Scary Movie 3.
Yeah, dude, he's at the
Where
party.
the guy's like at the party, drinking with the guys in the background, and then they highlight his face.
Dude, that's so good.
Very good. Kayla, any more questions for questions
Yeah.
with Kayla?
Yeah, last one.
So brilliant.
This one's like a more situational. So, what's the scariest situation you've ever been in?
Oh,
Oh boy.
I mean, that could be a tearjerker.
yeah.
okay. And I want to know now. Well, like you've not like.
Yeah. I mean,
Not like a near-death
tough to know where to
experience for
take
your
this.
friend.
Like how
where
serious
you're-
we wanna
yeah.
take this.
Yeah. Not
Okay,
that. Not
okay,
that. Not that.
okay.
right. We were at a market in India where all of a sudden we started looking around and it looked like there were different people, like guys watching us, all in positions to block us leaving.
and we were in the middle.
We were right in the middle.
And there was like 8 different aisles that all
And there was
came
like a
into the
tent
middle.
It was like a
Covering
movie where you
overhead,
look
yeah.
and there's a person looking at you from every
And
direction.
you keep
Ooh.
I
turning.
thought we were gonna.
And none of us have Tyler Rake's skills from Extraction.
Well, I do.
You do?
Not everybody else. Yeah.
Man, you've just never shown us that.
With great power.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a
Meekness, power under control.
Oh man,
Guys, I'm
you
so
cannot
sorry.
help.
technology.
AI trying
Stop
to
it,
even AI is
Sadie.
trying to be on our podcast.
Yeah.
And the other scary situations. That was scary.
I mean, we
mean-
would ride those motorcycles around
so scary.
and scooters and stuff. That was
We
always,
instead
Yep.
of flying from Burundi to Zambia when we were
yeah.
doing mission work, we to save money paid a captain of a cargo ship $20 each to hop on the cargo ship.
Yep.
And
Lake Tanganyika.
on Lake
Tanganyika.
Tanganyika. It was a 3-day journey. And what they told us as soon as we boarded the ship was the last time the boat made this journey, pirates hit the ship. And
Yep.
so I remember that night just like being a little seasick on the back of the boat. I think you guys were sleeping and I was just
looking for the
Jack
Sparrow.
on the
Yes.
on the lookout.
I'm like, man,
Seriously.
if pirates show up right now, I don't know what I'll do.
just give them our camera, and that's about all we had.
There you go.
I'll have to wake up Tyler Rake to handle it for
Yeah,
us.
yeah. Of course, I would be happy to.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got.
Kayla, it's
That's
great
all
to
she
have you
wrote.
back.
Good job,
You know
Thank you
that?
so
Welcome
much.
back,
Good to have you
Kayla.
back
Thanks
at the
for
Afterthoughts
answering them, guys.
podcast. Let's do some lightning round catch up for
Okay.
this rest of this episode.
Deal.
Couple minutes on the last 3 sermons.
Wow.
We're gonna
Which
have to
ones
go
we
back
have?
in time.
If only.
Ryan, a few weeks ago, you talked about apathy.
Yep.
You told people you are not apathetic, but you are pathetic. Was that the
Yeah,
thesis?
you are a pathetic
That was the thesis of the
loser.
sermon? Did
Yeah,
I hear
and
that
then
right?
I prayed, and then the worship team came up. It was great. No,
Apathy is a layover.
Apathy is a layover. The idea was we weren't created for apathy. We were created to live alive and free. And so there's seasons where we feel apathetic, but it's not a final destination. It's a layover. So I talked about the 3 things that keep us stuck on that layover, not wanting to board our flight to the land of living alive and free. Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, it was your pain,
Ding.
your past,
Out of order, but
paperwork,
ding.
and your past.
Good
so
job. Glad you
Thing-
could remember your own sermon.
right, things that we've like gone through, experienced, pain, all of that keeps us stuck in apathy, especially when we don't process it. Paperwork is a huge one. Like life just becomes very complicated very fast, and there's all these things that we have to do, and it feels like you set out to change the world, and then you realize it's just a lot of forms to fill out along the way, and if you're not careful, that paperwork can steal your passion.
Oh, yeah.
And then of course your past.
Oh,
People
yeah.
feel so disqualified by their past, keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
So
What shakes you out of apathy, personally?
preaching about apathy.
There you go.
That's why I did
It's
it.
good.
Yeah, it's like, well, I should probably preach a sermon about this. Yeah, that's my answer. What about you?
Well, here's one thing you said that stuck out to me is when you are offended by passionate people,
Yeah.
that's a good sign that you're probably apathetic.
Yeah.
Because it bothers you that they care so much about something.
Yeah.
And it's probably speaking to something deep down in you that's like, you don't care.
Yeah.
And that, like Tim Keller quote you shared,
Yeah.
the apathy.
Apathy is a greater threat than atheism for Christianity.
I think,
Whoa.
yes, a
Dude,
lot of
so good.
Christians
Okay.
are offended or put off by other Christians that are out doing something because it's not how they would do it, or they have some disagreement or something. And I'm like, well, at least they're trying.
Yeah.
At least they care. So for me, a lot of times it's people like Timothy that you talked about, who we'd be out in the morning, we'd be in the red light district at the preschool and praying with women and all the stuff he does all the time, then go to the Home of Hope with all these children who've been rescued from the red light district. And at night, when you are exhausted from a full day, have dinner, and all we wanted to do is put on an episode of The Office or something and just kind of relax. He then went to work on all the paperwork. It's those kinds of people, I think, that are fighting and making mistakes along the way, sure, but the people that are just trying to go change the world with their lives, that shake me again to be like, if it's bothering me the way they're doing something, then that's probably speaking to the fact that I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Or else it's just inspiring to me to remember
so
that
good, man.
we're all called to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a picture of, I think, a increasing problem that we have and that I feel in my own life, that when we get too self-reflective, like when we get too caught up in how we are doing and self-absorbed in how I'm feeling and my own self-discovery and all of that kind of stuff, a lot of that is good. It can also become a trap where you end up thinking about yourself all the time. And what Timothy is an example of is someone who never thought about himself. He just wanted to see people be set free. And he just is giving his life to serving these people. And it's interesting that the former leads to apathy a lot of the times, and the latter leads to living alive and free. And so getting out of your own comfort zone and serving other people is the best way to shake
and
off
like
apathy.
Jesus couldn't afford to be apathetic because the mission at hand was so great and important.
Totally.
I asked our staff right after that, we were all sitting the next morning and just asked, what pushes you into apathy more than anything else, and what brings you out of apathy more? And pretty much the consensus on both answers was people. That people
Really?
can be so difficult and getting complaints all the time and critique all the time, and everyone, offended by someone else's passion or whatever, can just push you to be like, I don't care. Like, I'm trying so hard, but all I get back from people is negative feedback and all that. But then everyone's like, what fires them up was a story of like a conversation with somebody in our church that, man, it's clicking and God's doing something, or they see this person who's just going and running in their lane and doing this amazing thing to build the kingdom. So it's interesting that somehow Jesus managed that tension.
Oh, it's so
because you talk
good,
about
man.
people coming at him all the time, which could have pushed him to be like, dude, I'm out of gas.
I want to give a
It's
quick
so good,
shout
man.
out to my friend Natalie, who is in a group at our church, and she every once in a while will email, and the subject of the email will be some good gossip. And she'll tell me like some good gossip she's heard from people about the church or about the podcast. But last week she sent me a quote from girls in her group that said this Afterthoughts podcast to them kind of feels like being in the same small group with us.
Nice. Wow.
Which is, I thought, one of the coolest pieces of encouragement that we could hear, and definitely gives you, it even increases my passion, our passion for continuing to create this. As imperfect
cool.
as it will continue to be, you know?
I don't know. We'll get to perfectionism.
Yeah, I just talked about perfectionism. This podcast is pretty perfect.
Anything else on apathy for you? What drives you into it or pushes you out of it?
Well, I mean, yes to that, but I love the segment because we talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
The segment where you challenge people, say you're stuck in a job that makes you so apathetic
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
and you feel like it's not your purpose. What do you do about that? And what are the steps that you gave?
Yeah, so I said find something that you love, like something that you're super passionate about. You can stay up all night talking about. That's step 1.
Yeah.
Step 2, don't quit your job. And that one's important.
Super important.
And then step 3 is get really good at that thing you identified in step 1.
Yeah.
And then I said, and what's step 4? That's what people always ask. And I said, don't worry about it. Nobody ever does step 3. Very few people actually do step 3.
But if you do step 3,
if you are somebody that puts in your 10,000 hours and does step 3, you watch how doors will start to open for you. Maybe there's a way to monetize that thing. Or maybe you'll realize that you shouldn't monetize it because as soon as you do, there'll just be a whole bunch of paperwork that will steal your passion. And so it's always just this thing you do on the side, but it gives purpose and meaning to your 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, because now your 9-to-5 job that used to make you apathetic and steal your passion is now what you're doing to fund your passion project.
Totally.
And so
Yeah.
all of a sudden now there's purpose to your 9-to-5.
Dude.
And your passion rises with that as well. And who knows, maybe you get the blessing and opportunity to eventually quit that job, but when you finally quit that job, it's because the doors are opening for this.
Totally.
Because I've put the legwork in and I've put my energy in, and now things are happening. As opposed to ending this chapter before you have any ideas or plans for the next chapter, I think you're gonna find apathy just meets you there as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the problem was actually never the job. The problem was you. And the problem's always us. And we're always stuck with ourselves wherever we go. And so that problem's going to follow us wherever we go. But the solution is, the good news is we can actually learn to do the inner work to heal whatever is causing us to be apathetic in the first
That's
place.
a good way of saying that. I feel like I have conversations with people sometimes where I'm trying to communicate like, hey, a new job is probably not going to fix this. A new city is not going to fix this. A new relationship's not going to fix this because you've got something deep down that you're not connected to a real purpose with your life, or you're not seeing your life affect any change or do anything. And that's what the holding tank is that you're in. So find what is God put in you to come alive. That's good.
The magic you're looking for. Hashtag Harry Potter.
Whoa.
Easy.
Well,
Careful.
not magic, but
Oh,
can we bleep that?
the passion?
There it is.
The magic of life? I don't know.
No.
No, you can't say that at all.
No more Disney for Doug.
Is not over
Yeah.
the next horizon.
Right.
It's in the
Right.
ground beneath your feet. You need to learn how to dig it up.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you are right now, there is that passion in the ground beneath your feet if you will put the work in to dig it up.
Yeah.
Because you could just run over to that next new horizon, but you never learned how to be where you are when you were where you are.
Yep.
So you'll get there, but now you don't know how to be there
Yeah.
and grab a shovel there. Because then it's going to be the next horizon after that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's
Passion's
it,
one
man.
of those things
What's the
that
key to grabbing the shovel? Because I think if somebody's in an apathetic place, it's like, I know I need to make a move, but I kind of don't want to because I don't really care. But I know I should and I want to. How do you push somebody?
I think you ask God to show you where the significance of your current role is. So I remember, waiting tables at the Med in Boulder and wanting so bad to quit. And I'd meet with our friend Chad for lunch every few weeks, and I would just complain to him about God has me benched right now, and I can't wait to finally do something that matters. And he said, I think that job you're wanting is coming, but you got to know there's no off seasons with God.
Yeah.
And you're not on the bench. You've benched yourself. And that's where I've told you guys this story a lot, but he said, you're the lead pastor of the med, of that restaurant. Right. You want to be a lead pastor one day? Well, you got to see yourself as a lead pastor where you are, because there's eternal significance to be found where you are. You just don't see it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Jesus said.
So good, man.
Jesus said, those who have eyes, let them see.
Yeah.
And I think there's significance and purpose all around you, regardless of where you are. You don't have the eyes to see it. And so I think asking God, give me the eyes to see the purpose that's in front of me today.
There you go.
That's it.
And just like that, we move to chaos.
Chaos,
huh?
You spoke about chaos a week ago.
And it was your idea.
A week and a half ago.
Originally. I was trying to think of a topic, and Ryan said, oh, you know what? You should preach about chaos. And I thought, what does that mean? You think about me.
Yeah, and funny, but also what it means, I think about you, is we live in a world where everybody, without knowing it, invites chaos into their world, and I think likes chaos and is quasi addicted to chaos, because as long as our life is chaotic, then we have an excuse for why we're not moving forward. And you are the ultimate example in my life of somebody who says, no, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to set up systems and structure to help us attain the goal that we're looking for, and let's take out any of the chaos that we can. So I think you're very good at it.
Thank you.
Which is why I threw that to you. How was the experience?
Well, it was great. I love writing the sermon and the process of it. I love practical, like helping people practically. And I had an interesting conversation with a guy that I referenced later in the weekend, a guy that I love in our church. He's awesome. He wasn't asking in a combative way, but after the sermon, on Saturday, he was like, hey, do you think that the opposite could also be true? Like with too much order, that can be a problem for people. And I said, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's where legalism comes in, where it becomes everything's in my structure and I have no room. But I don't think chaos is the right word to say of what maybe we can justify within that. I think there's a needed flexibility in following Jesus. There is a mystery to the Holy Spirit that we need to be open to. But this whole embrace the chaos idea, I reject that, because I don't think chaos is biblical. I don't think it's what God has for us, because he's not chaotic.
Right.
And so, and also with our church,
Dude,
and
I was just going to say, that would be like a bunch of like people who are very, very unhealthy and never work out, and saying like, hey, you guys should start working out. And then someone being like, hey, can't you work out too much too?
Right.
Like, can't that be a problem? It's like, well,
Right.
yes.
Well, we'll worry about that
worry
when you
about
work
that.
out too much.
We'll get there.
exactly. Well, and
Let's just start working out a little bit.
Him and I laughed about it, because I was like, you are correct in the theory of it. In the practical application of this church, no. Because that's not the problem here. And he was like, yeah, you're right. This is not too ordered of a people. That can happen for sure. So he's right. But it just brought up an interesting thought in my mind, that I watched some videos as I was researching about chaos, even from pastors who kind of were like putting up the white flag of like, you know what? Kind of just part of life is just embrace the chaos and just kind of live in the mix of it. And I was like, no, please don't do that. Because the world looks more and more that way, because we allow ourselves and accept it and use it as a license and excuse to not really move forward. So it was cool. I enjoyed, it was kind of a different type of topic, but
yeah. I even think about in Genesis when God tells Adam to reign and rule over creation. And he puts him in a garden. And this is all from Garden City by John Mark Comer, but the Bible begins in the garden. And the Bible finishes in Revelation with a city. And God creates humanity in this sort of divine, amazing partnership. Could God do it all? Yes. He decides not to. He decides to partner with humanity and says, make the rest of the world look like this garden. And the garden, I would say, has a wildness to it in the sense of adventure, but it's also very ordered.
Right.
And God says to Adam, make the rest of this untamed, chaotic world look and feel like this garden. Bring order to disorder, reign and rule over creation.
Which, back to our purpose question from the last sermon with apathy, how do you find your purpose? How do you know what your purpose is? It's exactly that.
That is it.
Wherever you're taking chaos and making it look more like God's kingdom, that's really what purpose is all about, eliminating chaos. So you gave us, was it 5 steps?
Keys to living calm in the chaos. So perspective, know your God. Identity, know yourself. Vision, know your purpose. Those 3 are biblically given to you. That's the stuff you go to God for, and he's just got for you. That's why you need to spend time every morning with him, right? That's where you download those foundations. And then your work is the system. to know your plan. You've got to make a plan and invite God into that, and then motion, make your move. So actually make the plan and then live that plan. Go put it into practice.
What is in your life in the last couple of years? What is the biggest change you've seen from putting these steps into your life?
When I operate in a day where I have things structured out in terms of calendar and priority to like working together, I feel like a different person. Like last week, I was in my routine where I get up, spend some time reading scripture, kind of get that perspective, identity, vision for the day. Some day, like I had a day where I literally prayed through each event on my calendar that day for each meeting, like for God's presence in the work I'm doing, all of that. Went and did my workout, and then came home, got the boys up, made breakfast. Steph, we all hung out, and then Steph took them, Zeke to school, and then I stepped into work mode and got my phone out and began the day there, and then came here. That day versus a day last week where I didn't get up and do my morning routine, I think because it wasn't a work day, and I just kind of went with the day. I felt more kind of anxious during the day, more irritable, more frustrated, and so I can experience it in 2 days, the difference between the plan in motion and how I feel like I'm overflowing versus a day where I don't operate with some order in my life and it feels like I'm running on fumes and I don't have anything for anybody else.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
good, man.
And I think a lot of people would argue, oh, but then there's no room for spontaneity in your life.
Yeah, but there is.
Yeah, exactly. To that,
There's
I would
way
say
more room.
you embrace spontaneity and have that fun, spontaneous spirit, maybe more than anybody I know. And I would say you're better at that when you have a structure to your life.
Correct.
That
Yeah.
spontaneity can interrupt.
That's so good.
Yes,
man.
exactly. Or you don't feel stressed out when that happens because you know things are in check, right? Like when I worked with our buddy Matt, we were doing creative projects and he was like, let's track how much time we're spending on these. Let's calendar. Like he's a very organized person. And this was before I'd really, he taught me a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, dude, we're like making creative stuff. We don't need to do that. He was like, watch what happens if you try some of this,
We're
how
free
much more
spirits.
creative you'll be.
Yeah.
And so I found that to be so true because I wasn't stressed anymore because I knew things were in the right place. And then I felt the freedom of time where I could get creative and have spontaneous. Same thing as when I get home after a day that's been like the plan has run and some things have gone the way I planned and some haven't. But I can close that off and go be spontaneous and jump on the trampoline with my son and just have fun and not have a plan. And I feel way less stressed out doing that because my
Yeah.
days, it's happened, like I've had order to it. I'm not feeling like I get home and I'm drowning in a mountain of too many things that I just couldn't keep track of.
Okay, do this for a
so
second
good,
for
man.
the person who's listening right now and would make the argument, I just don't have the time. I don't have enough time in my life. I love how you sort of step into the arena and challenge, and almost like in a coach kind of way. I'm gonna push back on you saying that you just don't have the time
Right.
to spend time with God
Yeah.
or to fill in the blank, to work out, to whatever it is. For that person listening who's like, please somebody awaken some passion in me, challenge me out of my apathy right now in regards to their time management, what would you say to that person?
The tension always feels like I don't have enough time to plan out my time. Like, yeah, I'd love to sit down and do that, but I need to be doing the things that I'm supposed to be planning. And I guess the incentive would be you're going to live in survival mode of time for the rest of your life until you stop for an hour and decide I'm going to be in control of this and put some structure to this. It's something that like once you start to experience it, I think that you're like, oh, okay, I understand this. But when you're before that, you kind of reject it because it sounds boring or it sounds like too much work or I'm not really good at that. So I'd say to some people, maybe there's somebody in your life or there's even life coaches and people that can literally help to structure out your calendar.
Yeah.
The fruit of it will be so much calm and peace.
Yeah.
And not feeling the same. I use money as the analogy, like the same way as when you swipe your card and you feel stressed out all the time. The difference of that feeling versus when you swipe your card or a bill comes and you go, that's fine. I'm not stressed because that's in my budget.
Yeah.
I already knew that money was going there.
Right.
So that's no big deal.
Right.
That freedom, that peace is possible. And you have the time to do it, but you have to take the time to plan the time.
I've heard it said with that, you actually multiply your time. So let's say it comes to bill paying and you sit down every single month and you manually pay that bill. And that takes you 30 minutes. As opposed to what if tomorrow you sat down and you took 2 hours to automate it?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that took you 90 more minutes than it would have taken you just to pay it. But now you're buying yourself 30 extra minutes every single month.
Yeah.
And so you are multiplying your time by just putting in more time up front to make everything more efficient.
I think the people I know that are the most efficient and free, because efficiency a lot of times people associate with like cold people that just get their work done. They weekly calendar and budget, money, all that stuff. Like they have a weekly time where they zoom back out and put those things in place. Quarterly, assess the system of, okay, how's my time budgeting and calendaring working? Are there areas in my life that I'm stressed out about, or on my bills? Is there some area in my budget that I budgeted this much, but we're in the red here, and what do I need to adjust? And then every year, setting vision to all of that and zooming all the way out, like going away or spending a full day, not in the work, but vision for the year, and then starting to rebuild the system or start whatever it is.
And that will help you sleep so much better.
Yes.
I feel like there's such a chaos sort of haunts you in a subtle way at night while you're trying to fall asleep. Your life is disordered and chaotic, and there's something when your head's on your pillow at night in the back of your mind that's going, there's dollars in my life that I don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
There's time in my life that I know is being wasted. There's precious resources, and I feel like it's slipping through my fingers, and I don't have control over things I should have control over.
Yeah.
And so just taking some time, and there comes a point in life where you can't just claim being disorganized as like a personality type.
No, correct.
Oh, I'm not a morning person. Oh, I'm not an organized person.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just not good at time. I'm just not good at money. Well, that's not a personality type. You don't get to claim that.
Right.
There's ways now to learn all of those things and become all of those things for your own sake.
And
Put order where there's disorder.
And so long as you say that, that will be true.
Exactly.
I'm not a morning person. So you're not a morning person, and your days are always stressed out, and you lose the first couple hours of your day where things could be happening.
Yeah.
You know, I think that especially if you're responsible for other people too. You know, that's what I loved about the story of Jethro and Moses, where Jethro's like, dude, you've got a responsibility as a leader here.
Yeah.
You got to get yourself in shape. You got to build a plan that's going to actually work for you and your peace, but for the peace of these people as well. And chaos is probably a generational, perpetual thing that we just continue to teach to the next generation.
Yeah.
Because most people don't grow up maybe in homes with peace and calm. It's chaos, chaos, chaos. And so it's just kind of a learned behavior. So it really does take like, I'm going to step outside of my life for a second and put this into check and start to put some things in order. And once you do, you kind of start to really want that to be your practice all the time.
It's the same way in the garden, to bring that full circle, when God told Adam to reign and rule over creation. Part of creation is time. So you have authority over your time.
Yep.
You just have to start acting like it.
Correct.
Great.
Yep. Tithe your time, budget your time, prioritize your time, execute your calendar.
I love it.
What
Dare
did you
you.
say the most spiritually alive people I know?
Are the most practically ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Because
so
I
true,
know
man.
there's people sitting there like, oh, this is a how-to on like leadership and time management and stuff. I'm like, this is a how-to,
This is how to be
actually have
spiritual.
effective time with God and be an effective person for the
How
kingdom.
about the fact that God is just practical?
Yeah.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
I think the person who claims to be the most spiritual or acts like the most spiritual would not think for a second that God is actually a very practical and ordered God.
Right.
He has systems. You said the system delivers your vision.
Right.
You won't rise to your vision, you'll fall to your system.
Yeah.
God is the creator of systems, from all your respiratory system, your circulatory system, all the way to the solar system and everything in between. He is a God who is ordered.
Yep.
He's a God who gets things done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
And just like that, we finish with perfectionism.
Yeah, preached on perfectionism this weekend. I think it was the perfect sermon. So,
Yes.
Wow.
what do we think?
Perfect.
I think people should just
10 out
stop
of
listening
10.
to this and go listen to that.
10 out of 10.
It is. It's funny. It's difficult to write a sermon on perfectionism because all three of us, we really do try to perfect our craft, and we're far from it. But we think and overthink and overthink and overthink. And you know that feeling where it's like everybody will say like great sermon, but in the back of your mind you're like, I missed that joke over there. That part got out of order.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep.
So it's been a good practice for me about 100 different times in the last few days to surrender that and be like, no, it wasn't the perfect sermon. It was the sermon it was supposed to be. And so I'm just going to leave it there. And the 6 o'clock was the 6 o'clock and the 9 o'clock was the 9 o'clock and whatever. So, but yeah, I talked about perfectionism and how psychologists say there's 3 different types of perfectionists. Self-oriented is putting the standard of perfectionism on yourself. And then a second is feeling like the world is putting that standard of perfect on you. Like you have a spotlight on you and everyone's saying, just be perfect.
Yeah.
And then the third is expecting perfect from the rest of the world. And so that type of perfectionist is going to find it very hard not to judge people.
Yeah.
And not to get like very highly critical of everything because they have a standard of perfection for other people. And so I wanted to break that down and show people that we all have a little bit of this in us in different ways, but we live in an imperfect world. And so my line was, expecting perfect in an imperfect world is a recipe for endless frustration.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. I would love to hear how that sermon hit both of you.
Yeah, I think that last point you just made, when it feels like you can kind of just release and step back for a second and remember that, even though we all know that, but you just get in that mode where you expect that, you want everything to be right. I wonder too if like, because of cameras starting way back all the way to social media now, if that's just like grown worse in us, because like nothing is just, it happened and no one will remember it exactly how it happened. Everyone can watch everything you do basically and critique one little thing you say wrong or, whatever it is. And so it's like this kind of sickness, I feel like, in myself at times where I want everything to be aligned right.
You're playing chess and you're like, this is flawless. All the moves I'm making right here.
Yep. But that never really actually happens.
Yeah. And then, so one of the main points was it steals our presence. It steals our ability to be present. Where like even right now in this moment, we have cameras on and this will live on. And dozens of people will watch it. And so it's so hard because I want to just be present here with you two as we have a conversation. Also, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm going, wait, are people going to interpret that one thing I said this way or that other thing that way? You know what I mean?
Totally.
And as soon as you start playing that game, you're no longer being present with your friends. You're overthinking something
Doug
because of
thinks
perfectionism.
he's a wizard.
You're a wizardy.
For me, I'm a huge experience like moment guy. Like I want something I think up to be perfect in like a party or a meal.
Yeah.
And I visualize it in my head in such a way that when that's not the reality that's happening, even if everybody's still having a great time, it like bothers me and I can't fully enjoy it because I'm like, oh, but this was supposed to happen or you were supposed to be here or whatever. Instead of just embracing like set the table for it to be the perfect moment and then remember that it won't be. But it's going to be great because everyone there will not know all the things you planned and that this didn't go that way.
Do you remember back in May, was that when we had baptism? Yeah. When it was like maybe the 9 a.m. service and there was a young lady whose video testimony was playing and then it stopped working.
Yep.
And then there was something weird with the audio and the video and it had to be reset and our microphones weren't working and there's 700 people, 800 people in the room, her friends and family, this big moment. And her
perfect moment.
Perfect moment, and nothing is working. And then all of a sudden, it was like this invitation to create within the imperfection.
Right.
And we started talking really loud to an entire auditorium and yelling because we didn't have microphones and making the point, this is the same thing for people with weddings. They put all this work in, and then you don't even enjoy it. You're not even present because you're so worried about all the details going right that you completely miss it. Whereas if you could just release that and understand at the end of this wedding, you're going to be married, and for that reason, this will be perfect. It'll be imperfectly perfect, and then sort of creating a new moment and saying, this video didn't work, but this baptism stood out. Among all the other moments of today because of everything that went wrong. And we ended up creating with her like this really cool moment and the band got in on it and everybody rallied and started like cheering for her and it ended up being this baptism that was even better.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wedding is such a good example of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How many of the couples that like we meet with before their wedding or even seeing them there and you can tell they're kind of like not really there because they're too worried. I'm like, if somebody comes up to you after your wedding and they're like, yeah, I didn't think the table settings were great. It's like, why were you here then?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be at my wedding. That's what your takeaway was, you know? But nobody noticed, like nobody cares.
No.
And there's a great thing to details and all those kinds of things. But the
Sure.
perspective
Sure.
that so quickly gets lost because of the perfection that's expected. That's the problem.
Yeah, I gave a shout out to the perfectionists in the middle of the sermon because actually a perfectionist is just someone who's pursuing excellence. And scripture makes it clear that the pursuit of excellence is actually a beautiful thing. Think like Daniel and Daniel 6.
Totally.
He like
Right.
so distinguishes himself and all that. The problem is the enemy will use that pursuit of excellence and twist it into needing perfect. And again, expecting that perfect in the imperfect world is a recipe for endless frustration. And so the game is to pursue excellence, and at the end of the day, just laugh and realize that nothing's ever going to be perfect this side of eternity.
And perfectionism can sometimes be it can be a defense mechanism to never be content, kind of, or never let anybody around you be content.
Yeah.
Because it's this demand that's impossible.
Right.
So that, I'm sure at companies that's very prevalent of like some people that probably lead that way to make everybody continue to always have to try harder and try harder and try harder. And you may get a little more out of them, but it probably leads to being really unhealthy over time versus we're going to strive for excellence, but also release perfection at the same time.
Yes, let's learn to celebrate how far we've come constantly. We have to remind ourselves. We reminded ourselves of that yesterday in a meeting with the three of us. Like, let's look back and celebrate moments in this year instead of being perfectionists
because
what we do.
I think peace actually does come from perfection.
Yeah.
You think about it for a second. I remember making this joke years ago about like the family room in most of our homes growing up. If you were lucky enough to have a family room where it was a living room, but it wasn't for living, it was for looking. You didn't go into that room unless it was Christmas morning.
Yeah.
You do not wear shoes onto that carpet. The pillows are perfect. And mom and dad can like steal away from the chaos and craziness of raising kids and look at their perfect vacuum lines on the carpet and think for a second, we're not crazy. We are in control of our lives. And you feel a little bit of peace because there's some perfection that gives you that peace. And so I actually think perfection does give you peace. It's just realizing you need to make sure you're looking to the right source for that perfection.
That's so good,
and you actually have all the perfection you need for all the peace that you could ever want in Jesus.
Yeah.
Which on the church side, I think that is something that probably leads a lot of perfectionism in churches because you feel, this is the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
The most important thing in this life is people coming to know Jesus. And so
I want my sermon to be perfect.
If something's
I want the
not
worship
perfect,
to be
then we're
perfect.
letting that mission down in a way.
Right.
But that's when you have to stop and go, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Who's got the keys to this in the end?
And who doesn't even need us to do this?
Right.
God.
Right. Yeah. So the key takeaway verse, and if you're a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist, memorize this verse this week, Hebrews 10:14, where the writer of Hebrews says, "For by one sacrifice," which is what Jesus did on the cross, perfect sacrifice, laying down his perfect life, took him who knew no sin to become sin, that we may become the righteousness of God. By one sacrifice, he has made perfect. So you have been made perfect forever. And then he says, those who are being made holy. And I love it because it's both sides of the coin. You're already perfect and you're a work in progress. You have permission to be messy. You have permission to get things imperfect. But because of what Jesus did on the cross, he covers your sin perfectly. And so you've already been made perfect. Now you wake up every morning with the intent to become more holy and to look more like Jesus.
From the perfection you already have, not for it.
There it is. So good.
Well,
Cool.
Well, Kayla, any last thoughts here on the Halloween special of the Afterthoughts podcast?
No, you guys did great. You got through 3.
3 and 1.
Yeah, 3 and 1.
That was pretty good.
Wow, the triple threat
I'm
episode,
really proud of you guys.
as it is, will live in infamy.
Yes, it will.
Talked about Harry Potter too. Can't wait for the
Spooky.
comment. No longer watching the Afterthoughts podcast, thanks to your Harry Potter conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
and
problem.
that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
But if you are going to continue to watch the Afterthoughts podcast, share it.
Yes.
Maybe these past 2 weeks without it has reminded a few people like, I do enjoy this.
Yeah.
I like this podcast. I'll call out Tyler Hines, who always
That's right.
listens.
Shout
and
out to
said,
Tyler.
I got in the car to drive and I realized there wasn't an episode. And I thought, You love this, Tyler.
Thanks for listening,
love this,
Tyler.
Tyler.
You'll never say it, but you love this
you
so
do.
much.
We have a TikTok, Afterthoughts. TikTok.
Afterthoughts.podcast.
Afterthoughts.podcast.
Yes.
It's great to be back with you guys.
Yes.
I say we do it again next week.
Let's do it.
Keep it running.
Woo!
Happy
Halloween
Halloween.
special
Spooky.
in the books.